Buhari to take over negotiation with ASUU and others. And later on the show, Fitch says Nigeria's rocketing inflation damping economic growth, eroding purchasing power. I will be hanging out with Bolaji Tunji and Adewale Adeoye. I would have Mr. Bolaji join us later on the show. Welcome on the show, Adewale.
Yeah, good afternoon.
And happy Sunday.
Yeah, happy Sunday to you.
All right, Journalist Hangout starts now. Welcome back and thank you for joining us. In Nigeria, seasons come and go, but they leave us with some peculiarities. Festive seasons in the country are usually accompanied by hike in cost of goods and services. With a week to the Eid-el-Kabir celebration, airfares for major routes across the country have gone up. Airline operators blame the hike on skyrocketing price of aviation fuel, also known as Jet A1. Routes mostly affected are in the north, with prospective passengers already lamenting the hike. Adewale, isn't this common, especially when festivities are around us?
Yeah, it's common, but it always brings pains to many Nigerians. Unfortunately, a lot of Nigerians now who can afford to travel by air would rather choose to go by air because of several security situations associated with traveling by road. So it's quite unfortunate that people need to pay almost 3 times what they used to pay before. And there seems to be no solution, that is very close to us, because this is happening in the midst of fuel scarcity.
Absolutely.
We have gasoline, diesel, everything has gone up. So they are the same byproducts of crude oil. So I think it's going to continue for some time. We are not going to deceive ourselves. More people will need to pay. It's going to also increase the burden on corporate institutions who need to pay the airfare of their workers, drive from one place to the other. And our Muslim brothers who would like to go home for festivity. So I think it's coming at a very unfortunate time, when people necessarily want to go and see their families.
Of course.
Yeah.
All right, so this hike in airfares is about 30 to 40% increase, especially like the report says for northern routes. And you already said that these people would like to go home. It's a norm when Sallah comes, people want to go home and celebrate with their families. And is there a way for the airlines to at least subsidize this, especially at this period when we all know people want to go and celebrate?
Well, I'm sure most of the airlines will have wished to subsidize, but they are not running charity organizations. They need to pay their workers. They need to service their aircraft. They need to, provision of catering, maintenance of the aircraft. And if you look at the cost of raw materials, which they need to get from abroad, it's not going to be easy for them. So they need to look for a way to meet up with the rising obligations of production. So I don't expect them to, unfortunately, we don't have state carrier that is owned by federal government that can afford to run at a loss for a short time in order to meet public demands. All of them, without exception, are private airlines. So I think it will be very difficult, unless just deliberately want to, maybe assist people for 1 or 2 days.
That's what I'm saying, just for this holiday, just for this short period.
Yeah, it's a very good thing, but, in the context of the challenges facing them, I'm sure that it will be very difficult. Maybe what they can do is to reduce the airfare, maybe a day to the, to the festival, and then a day after. But eventually, it's not going to be something that everybody can afford. And of course, most of the northern states, we are talking of Kaduna, Borno, we are talking of Sokoto. Those days people used to go by road. But who wants to travel by road now? Even people travel as, short distances from Akure to Lagos. They prefer to go by air because of security problems associated with the, it appears to be the safest route now. In the past, it used to be going by rail, but now, because of the bombing that happened between Kaduna and Abuja. So it shows that traveling by rail is not safe. So most people, especially politicians and public office holders who are top public officers, would like to go by air.
All right, let's leave air first for now. Generally, when festivities are here, not only the transport system go through this price hike. When you go to the markets now, you discover foodstuff has actually gone up. How synonymous is this with us in Nigeria? And what is that reason for this continuous trend? Because this is a trend. Yeah,
because during festivals, there is high demand for goods. Some people, for instance, who have not taken a particular item, foodstuff, maybe for 1 year. For instance, if it's Christmas time, you know that you need to get chicken, you need to get meat and all that. Even though throughout the year, maybe you could not afford it. But it's a special, period. Season. You are at home with your family, and you think that it's normal to have special dinner, special breakfast. So people buy more, during festivals. When they need to go to the market, they are at home and they need to feed their families, be together with their families and eat together. So, and of course, people capitalize on this. To know that because there will be more people coming to buy, and they have to increase the price because they know that somehow they will need to buy those items because of the.
Is that being wise? Is that wisdom or greediness?
No, I think it's a function of the economy. It's not actually whether they just want to do like that.
Okay, then shouldn't we have mercy on ourselves? Yeah, as poor Nigerians.
We need to have mercy on ourselves. And those selves also include those that are selling those items. They also need to pay their bills. They need to pay school fees. So I think it's a function of the economy that, when you have festivities like this, prices of items will definitely go up.
All right. Thank you very much, Adewale, so far. Let's quickly go on a very short break. I'll be back to continue with the discussion.
TVC News Adedoja Sallah Madini emerged winner of Lagos reporting category at the 30th Diamond Award for Media Excellence. As the isolation centers filled up and many Nigerians living in denial, Adedoja dared the odds to bring the dreaded COVID-19 reality to our living rooms. This is the story that resulted in the laurel at the Diamond Award for Media Excellence, Lagos reporting category for Adedoja Sallah Madini. TVC News Femi Akonde won the coveted prize of Reporter of the Year at the Nigerian Media Merit Award, which is the most prestigious media award in the country. His winning story is on the bravery of the Civilian Joint Task Force, a group of local militia in Maiduguri established to fight Boko Haram terrorists. TVC News senior correspondent Sharon Ijaso won Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism Award. Her investigative piece reveals how underage children find themselves engaged as child sex workers, either willingly or unwillingly, with sex trade largely going digital. Poverty, greed, broken family structures, among others, have been identified as some of the drivers of the child sex trade in Nigeria. Congratulations to the news team who tell impactful stories. NMMA, DAME, and Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism Awards. TVC, first with breaking news.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked, and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move way in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
Voted as the best TV station of the year. TVC News breaks into the core of every event as they happen. following all nationwide big and impactful stories. Without the news from every perspective, covering every human angle. I am Veronica, bringing you the news you would want to watch.
Business lives on the fast track of numbers. Business is a strange world where low numbers means something different. And its currency are speed and time. Finding the open doors of Main Street is not just good business, it's the start of the business. Join us every weekend on Business Week.
It's not a regular show. It's an online interactive session where we share my views on the everyday issues that cut across politics, security, health, current affairs, governance, and so much more. I am passionate about our country. I choose to support any conversation geared towards building a better Nigeria. I am Babajide Kolaji Otitoju. Join me every Saturday on TVC News YouTube channel as I discuss Nigeria and the world at large on the show Issues with Jide.
Information is power, information is security, information is knowledge. On Labor Lens, we believe that working people around the world have real questions of their own. They want to know how the world of work operates, what it means to the employer of labor, how policies affect workers in the workplace. On Labor Lens, I ensure we engage effectively the organized labor, organized private sector, and government to get out of them information workers are in need of. I am Sharon Ijason, asking questions that make you get sense of the workplace.
There is always more to a story than the screaming headline. The part of a story that is not told casts a shadow. It's like the part of an object that is not reached by light. On TVC News, I'm able to explore the many angles there are to a story, talking to stakeholders, asking the difficult questions, and digging for facts. I believe the viewers are able to make a better decision if they're well informed and understand not just a part, but the complete story. TVC News, first with breaking news.
So, all in favor say aye. Those against no, the ayes have it.
What do you know about the legislature, its role in governance, and as one of the three arms of government? Lagos Parliament is here to bring it to you as it is. Here to bring you every detail you need to know about the legislature in Africa's most populous city. On Lagos Parliament, you get a chance to meet the lawmaker of the week. Events are critically reviewed. You can also observe plenary in Yoruba language. I am Abimbola Agbebi. Join me every Friday at 9 p.m. as I take you through the activities of the legislature.
Join me, Precious Amayo, as I bring you news from the epicenter, where it happens and when it happens, staying on top of every breaking story, minute by minute, right at the hour when the city gets busy and just before it sleeps. We're live from every angle with objective insight and analysis. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Every 1 hour, 86 migrants enter Lagos State. It is a beehive of activities. Every second counts in this city that never goes to sleep. There is always something to talk about. We go the extra mile to tell the story of Africa's 5th largest economy. We track happenings on land, on waterways, and in the air. We go against all odds to ensure that you are heard.
25% of the entire spread of Lagos is covered with water.
I'm Adedoja Salamadeni. I live in Lagos.
right, welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. We now have Mr. Bolaji Tunji joining us in the studio. And then you were in traffic. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon. So sorry for my lateness. A little bit of traffic on the way.
All right, so how did you scale through?
I'm here now.
Welcome. Now let's move on to another very interesting development. Like the hurricane, the Peter Obi presidential bid continues to gather strength and momentum. In another testimony, the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, has asked all its state structures to activate their local government political committees and mobilize support for Obi and the party across all elective positions in the 2023 elections. The NLC and the Trade Union in Congress, TUC, had earlier declared support for Obi. The NLC also said it will organize a mega rally in support of its deputy president, Nyesom, who is a governorship candidate in Kebbi State. So, as it looks, it is we against them for the NLC. Olaji, let me start with you.
Yeah, it's a welcome development. In fact, 2023 is going to be quite interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And why do I say this? There's a whole of awareness that is going on now. We are just getting this idea that, look, you have to go and take your PVC. You have to go and do this, you have to go and do that. And Labour telling people to mobilizing for Obi. Well, this is not the first time we are hearing that, actually. It's always been like that. When the election is like that, when we have a candidate, in the Labour movement, we say, okay, they have to support their candidate. The issue is where are ever taking them. You know, would this one be different from what we've ever experienced in the past? Well, that remains to be seen, because it's going to be a tool of the titans.
Absolutely.
The election of 2023. The APC contender is the hurricane today. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We also have a stalwart, a fighter, a dogged fighter in the person of Atiku Abubakar. And then we now have Obi coming in on the platform of the Labour Party. So it's going to be a major battle. And the awareness is there. People must go and collect their PVC. So Labour, let's see where it's going to get them.
All right, Adewale, it's finally looking like an LLC is standing up to some political responsibilities, as interesting as we have called it, because for a while now, they've been staying aloof.
Yeah.
How interesting is this for you?
Well, like Bolaji said, this is not the first time Labour has come out to support a particular candidate, either at the local level, at the national level. And this is not the first time that Labour has engaged the political process. In fact, I think in 1989, there was a conscious effort to form a Labour Party, which in a conference in Calabar, where you have Professor Escotoyo, Olaoni, and all of them. The Labour Congress was there. People like Adams Ochemole, the younger Labour, they were all there. But each time they made that attempt, nothing practically comes out of it. The best we have had was when we had a PRP, which is close to Labour, that was controlling Kano, in Kaduna State, in the Second Republic. Now that Labour has come up again, we should not forget that the Labour Party of today is not the Labour Party of yesteryears. The Labour Party of yesteryears was driven by radical ideology, Marxist-Leninist ideology. But you have a situation where what Labour calls the bourgeoisie has taken over the Labour movement. That's why we had a Labour Party in Ondo State, for instance, And now we are talking about Peter Obi. You ask yourself, is Peter Obi a product of the Labour movement in Nigeria? The fact is that it's not. There are about 44 affiliate unions in NLC. And I believe even when the president makes a statement, there is no tendency that all the 42 affiliates will automatically fall in line. And out of these 42 affiliates, you have 10 big, labor movements like Nupeng and all that. There is no guarantee that they will come out to say that, okay, we are going to support Peter Obi. Because as we have it today, Labour is polarized along political lines. So when they are making a statement that they want to support Obi, I think it's just a leadership statement. There are a lot of contradictions within the Labour movement. And in fact, some of them are also working for NCF, who are also pro-Labour. So
if you say this is a leadership statement, some persons would not agree with you because people are saying they are seeing some bit of seriousness with this statement.
Yeah, because I know a bit about the Nigerian Labour movement. I know that there are different tendencies. There are those that even don't believe that Obi is part of them. And they are very strong, And what you are going to, and of course, there are some Labour movements that are affiliated, with the state governments, like Norge, the governor still has a lot of impact, a lot of influence on many of them. The TUC, the NLC, are the big umbrella organizations. So when the leadership is talking, I'm not sure it has gone down, trickled down to all the affiliate members, unless there is a congress where the affiliate members sign and say we are going to support a candidate. For now, we should just take it as a mere political statement from the NLC leadership.
All right, I agree with you a bit. But then, Bolaji, I wouldn't want us to water down this effort. Now, if you're really considering that, okay, NLC is coming out to push their support, push their weight behind Obi, and some people are believing this. Some people are saying, okay, let's see where this takes us. Is it too late? Because this is 7 months to the 2023 elections. Is it too late or for the NLC and the Labour Party?
No, you see, in politics, just 1 hour makes a whole lot of difference. It's not too late. We still have a lot of time ahead of us. But like Wale said earlier, you see, it is really a leadership statement that, look, don't let's say we are not pushing for the candidate that is on our platform. Where it's like I said earlier, it's not the first time that Labour is coming to say, we are going to put our weight behind the candidate. Where has that taken Labour? What have they done with it over the years? Peter Obi, yes, is gaining popularity by the day, and Wale said something which is very significant, and that is Peter Obi wasn't thrown up by the Labour per se, we know his antecedent, we know how it came up, and, But you see, the Labour Party platform was just a platform for him to realize his ambition. And whether that ambition is going to be realized or not remains to be seen. Like I said earlier, those who is going to contest with are political titans, people that have seen it all in politics, knows everything about the political situation in the country, know where to go, what to do, So it's going to be a major battle. But like I said, today there's this growing awareness, serious growing awareness about the need for people to go and collect the PVC. I don't know whether that's going to make any difference or not, but that awareness is growing. It's still not enough, because in your state, for example, when I was speaking with the Resident Commissioner at the time, he said they have about 700,000 uncollected PVC, and that's the same thing all over.
In Lagos, we have over 1 million.
Exactly, all over. I think across the nation is about 80-something million. It is something million. Yeah, yes. Your state is 700,000. It's something million. So you see, people still need to go and collect the PVC, and let's see whether it's going to make a difference. And I believe it will make a difference, because it's always very difficult to manipulate the electoral process where when people come out en masse to vote. It's always very difficult.
All right, because both of you have said this looks like a leadership statement, I want us to still talk about this. Okay. Remember in 2017, I think, Governor Wike accused the Labour Party, of the NLC rather, of allowing politicians infiltrate the Congress. Yeah. Because both of you have said this is a leadership statement, what is that level of commitment or dedication or seriousness that you think the NLC has towards good governance, or show Nigerians or people like us that, okay, indeed, we are serious this time?
Let me add that if the Nigerian Labour Congress can genuinely come up to say, look, we are pushing candidates forward, which is what we have seen, especially in Latin America, where the progressive young people in Chile and Bolivia, they are, coming up to say, look, we have this candidate and then we want to support it. The Nigerian Labour Congress should have membership of the range of about 5 million, and that is huge. But the fact that the character of Labour these days, how many rallies have we had in the past 15 years led by Labour? Successful rallies, huge rallies. The one about petroleum subsidy held by Abubakar and all of them was organized by civil society, though Labour joined. But the one that's actually led by Labour. So in terms of public trust, what are they doing about fuel crisis, about inflation for the past 15, 20 years? So Labour has diminished in strength. I'm not blaming the leadership, I'm just talking about the reality. So in terms of being able to sham the masses, being able to give them instruction and they will obey, I don't think that strength, Labour strength, is, I would have wished it is there, because we actually need Labour now. Now, when we are talking about social movements, Labour should be one of the greatest organizations that should be able to liberate, lead the struggle for liberation. But the kind of leadership we have today, they don't command the kind of respect that, to the extent that they can say, okay, come up and vote for a particular candidate, and then people will, listen to them. That's the unfortunate thing.
All right, Balaji, I would like you to react to that.
Yes, you see, when you look at the present situation, people are actually looking for an alternative. Look at the the two major political parties we have, APC, PDP. People are looking for the third alternative. And Labour, like it has been said by Wale there, should be playing that role. Unfortunately, Labour that we have today is not the Labour we had in those years. I could remember during the 1993 election, when that election was annulled by the military government, the role the Labour played, the country was brought to a standstill. I know what Pengasan did, what Nupeng did through Franco Kori. I think we were both in the Guardian those days.
All right, Balaji, please, can you hold your thoughts there? We have Sonny from Jos. Welcome to the program, Sonny. Please go ahead with your contribution.
Okay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. You guys are doing a wonderful job. You see, what I want to say is this. Whether labor is diminished or not, the youth, I just came back from Benue State. If you see what is happening there, you will be shocked. Where people were saying labor doesn't have a structure and all of that. The places where I didn't even believe that anybody will be hearing of labor, things were going on there. You could see youth coming together, mobilizing themselves, contributing money. Here in Jos, in Plateau State, where I have, same thing is happening. In Kaduna, same thing. So whether labor or no labor, I want to tell you people that Nigerian youth are waking up. You could see people coming from different angles for PV.
All right, thank you very much, Sonny. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Yes, you see, I like the way this man spoke. And that's why I said earlier, there's a growing awareness that people need to really take their feet to their hands by going around to collect the PVCs so that they can participate actively in this coming election.
Okay.
But you see, there's something people kept missing, and that is, they will keep on missing it. And that's especially people who have not really participated in the political affairs, or they have not really been in government, or seen the way politics is really, or election is really conducted in this country. I have been there, I've been in government in Oyo State, and I know how elections, people, the way they go about this election. You see, elections are not won by mere saying, okay, I want to be part of. No, you see, there are certain institutions that are very, very important that contribute majorly to either the success or failure of any political party in contesting any election. Look at the instance of some of the state governments. You discover that when they hold local government elections, you discover that most of it is either their party members that will win all the seats in those local governments. You see, it's because they have the institution, the state institution, electoral institution, and they have the other institution, which is the security forces behind them. When you now look at that at the larger level, it's the same thing. Once a political party has those institutions behind it, it's always very difficult for that political party to be defeated in an election. Except there's a massive movement on the part of people that, look, we are going to have a change. And they know that even if you try anything, it's going to lead to a lot of problems. That's when you see that the elections are won by the fact that people went to vote and they went to express themselves. But in most cases, it's not always like that in Nigeria. I'm so sorry, that's the way it is. You know.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. Let's quickly go to another very critical story. Russian writer and one of the greatest authors of all time, Leo Tolstoy, once said, and I quote, "Let us forgive each other, only then will we live in peace." Yohannes Ndigbo Youth Council Worldwide has appealed to the Catholic authorities to forgive Reverend Father Atiku Abubakar and reopen the Adoration Ministry in Enugu, which was shot after his outburst against the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi. In a statement, the group said the prolonged closure of the ministry may affect many homes which benefit from it through direct employment or charity intervention. Balaji, when you read this story, what came to your mind?
Yes, you actually, when you look at the situation, what Abubakar said is not surprising. If you look at the history of our Father Abubakar, anytime there's any major election coming, he will come out with something explosive that will keep everyone talking. So the fact that he took on Peter Obi this time around, described him as being stingy, and that based on that he won't win the election, it's expected that Father Abubakar would, you know. And it is a very touchy thing, especially for people in that part of the world, because if you look at it, Peter Obi, his influence is growing daily, and the Catholic, they decided one of the canon that you don't denigrate any person, I think, and they felt that what Abubakar did was kind of a denigration of the character of the candidate of Labour Party, and they had to take action on it. And I think that with time, unless there's, because I know that there have been a time that they were trying to curtail the activities of Abubakar. Maybe this is going to be an opportunity to do that, because the information now is that maybe they want to build a church there so that the man could be sent abroad for training or that. I don't know whether it's going to happen or not. But the fact is that Father Abubakar has always been like this whenever there's a major election coming up. You know, this kind of...
All right, Adewale, let me continue. Well, it's okay. Actually, it's okay to forgive.
Yes.
Very okay to forgive.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Father Abubakar, is he actually ready to do the needful? And when I say do the needful, proceed with caution.
Yeah, I look at this issue of Father Abubakar from different angles. And Bishop Callisto Sonaga, who issued the papacy decree, is in order, because those laws made by the papacy, they are almost stronger than the laws of the state, because you hardly see people challenging them, say, we want to go to court and all that, even though they are not in the constitution. So it shows how powerful the Catholic Church is growing up a church these days. And we have seen it happening in some other parts of the country. And that is liberation theology. People are trying to say that, look, the religious organizations, whether in Islam or whether in Christianity, cannot stay away from the social contradictions that people face, the poverty, marginalization. They cannot stay away from politics. And there's no way you cannot continue to isolate the church or faithful from, politics. From politics, because political activities, political policies affect church members. So that it's no longer, safe to keep quiet when their members are, direct victims of state policies. So I think that's the ideological difference between, Abubakar and those that are fighting them. And if you see that, this liberation theology started in the 60s and early 70s, where Catholic people are saying, look, we need to be part of the change. We need to mobilize our people. We cannot keep quiet. So I think that's what informs his popularity all over the country. And look at Father Kokatu, Christians, Muslims like, because he speaks power, he speaks truth to those in power. So I think the church must recognize that their leaders can no longer continue to be silent. Okay. They are not punishing because of the statement made on Obi alone. It's an accumulated thing. Each time there's politics, it will come up and say it's mine. So we need to be able to balance, the two. That look, church leaders, they also need to speak for their people, for members of their. And I hope that they should forgive him, because he has actually apologized. Okay. I hope they should forgive him and then open up that church.
All right. So one thing I took away from this story is the fact that the Adoration Ministry caters to a lot of people. How do we draw the balance? How do we balance these needs with issues of discipline needed from Father Abubakar?
Yeah, I understand about 25,000 people. Yeah. That he deals with them, meeting their needs, opening access to them,
direct employment as well.
Direct employment and all that. So, and you see, the whole essence of spirituality, it's not just about going to heaven. You also want to live a good life, even though you dream you want to go to heaven. So, if people meet your essential needs, those people will automatically become your heroes. So that's what he's doing, and I think it has become so popular, to the extent that we can no longer be ignored. I think the Catholic Church should begin to, they need to tame him, but they should also see him as an asset, one way or the other, to that institution.
An asset?
Yeah, you see, let me look at there are two major Catholic fathers now that are always making waves in the country. We have Matthew Kuka, and we have this Abubakar. You see, like it has been said by Wale there, you see, there's no way you can divorce what happens in the church or in the society from what is happening in the church, because those who make up the society are members of the church. And for someone like Father Abubakar, for what they do there at the Adoration Ministry, 25,000 people for them. In fact, we even look at during that Adoration Ministry event, we have a lot of people coming to do one thing or the other. Maybe some people come to trade, people come and buy. it is an improvement on the economy, helping the economy of that area, and most people are making one thing or the other. But with the closure now, it's going to be a problem because nothing's going to happen again. And that's why those people are saying, please forgive him. The Bible has said it, and I could remember in those days when we were reading Shakespeare, the quality of mercy is not straight. It dropped, You see, you need to forgive, because that's the doctrine of Christianity too. Forgive. The man has apologized. Forgive.
So that's what I'm saying.
Because the effect, there will be the effect on the people. If you don't open the Adoration Ministry, there will be effect on the people, because those who are trading, those who are making one thing or the other, will not be able to make it. The money will not be coming. So it's important.
But we understand that with this agitation for reopening and let's overlook and all of that, when another father, another highly placed minister of God does the same thing, people would also come out to say, okay, Father Abubak's ministry members were agitating for him to be forgiven. We can also do the same thing. Because we really need to draw the line.
Well, you see, look, if another person comes out today and says the same thing that Father, it may probably not even have any major impact. It may probably not have any, because Abubakar has made a name for himself over the years. Okay. With the other transit, his statements and all those things, and the fact that people really, the love the people have for him, those who go there, because he was catering for certain needs that are missing in their lives, So if another person comes in today and says the same thing, he may not have any traction, and we just not take it with too much seriousness.
All right, let's move on, gentlemen. It's perplexing to hear that security agents as well as hapless citizens continue to die in the hands of bandits in some parts of Nigeria. Another sad tale is the killing of 20 soldiers, 7 mobile policemen, and scores of civilians when terrorists attacked a mining firm in Gumana Ward, Shiroro local government area of Niger State. Many security operatives and civilians were injured in the attack, while others were kidnapped. Meanwhile, the people of Beningwari local government area of Kaduna State are lamenting over impact of security, or rather insecurity, on their communities. And according to a community leader in the area, Zubairu Idris Abdurrahman, farming communities have in the last 2 years paid more than 400 million naira as taxes to bandits to enable them harvest their produce. Now let's share an update on the Niger killings with you.
Communities in Shiroro local government have been under a lot of attacks by bandits determined to establish their control in these areas. Earlier in the year, President Muhammadu Buhari had ordered a full-scale military operation in the state to curb the activities of these bandits, now declared terrorists. The effect of this directive brought some relief for a while, except for some sporadic attacks. But on Wednesday, the 29th of June, the bandits launched a massive attack on Ajata Aboki, Gurmana Ward in Shiroro local government. Locals report that about 16 persons were killed and 4 Chinese nationals kidnapped. The attack also left many casualties on the side of the security operatives. There are a number of factors that stands this attack out from previous attacks in the area. First, when the terrorists arrived, numbering about 300 on motorbikes, they told the villagers not to fear, that they came for the Chinese expatriate at the mining site and even asked for directions. Secondly, that axis has been a soft target for terrorists, in spite of the fact that the mining site was still operating, with expatriates residing there.
They're feeling sad. Even me, I'm feeling sad, because I'm not living at Alawa present. I'm living at Mina because of this insecurity. We always fear, because if they came in, if the bandit came in, they always first attack is destroy head or the village head.
With what happened yesterday, actually, because we were much more comfortable that the rate of the insecurity was reducing. Why? Because the military were responding promptly. Any information of any investment of all these bandits.
Well, for now, what we know is that there is an attack. Our law enforcement are still doing investigation about that, irrespective of whether they are, which group they belong to.
We are not resting on our house. His Excellency is very committed to ensuring that the security agencies are given all the necessary support to do what they're supposed to do, get rid of these criminal elements, from these criminal activities.
The Niger State government says it is doing all it can to smoke out these terrorists and ensure they don't find a hiding place in this local government any longer. Chenemi Bami, TVC News, Niger State.
All right, gentlemen, let's stay in Niger State before we move to Kaduna State. How would you react to this terrible story coming out of Niger State?
Very painful. Very painful for those who think they've paid supreme sacrifice for the unity of Nigeria, the safety of lives and humanity. So my condolences to the families of these 20 soldiers and 7 armed policemen. However, I think we saw this problem coming, but we didn't take proactive measures. The operations of bandits in that area has been ongoing for more than 3 years. The governor of Niger State on several occasions has come out to speak, calling on people to help him, because the bandits are targeting Chiroro Dam and Kangi Dam. And these are some of the biggest assets, strategic assets of Nigeria. The Kangi Dam was built in 1968. Chiroro Dam was built in 1984, which began operation in 1990. There are 2 strategic to energy needs of Nigeria that we should not allow bandits to even get close at all. I remember I've listened to the governor of Niger State several times saying, look, these bandits are here, these bandits are here. And of course, if you look at the fact that if they can have a stronghold in that place, if a Niger floats from Guinea, passing through Mali down to this place, with small vessels, they can get access to small ammunitions through that, River Niger. And then from that, if they go to River Benue, through Lokoja, they can get to Niger Delta and threaten our oil reserve. In Syria, in Yemen, if you see that the terrorists, what they usually do is that they will target oil rigs. They did it in Syria, they did it in Yemen.
Yeah.
So when they got here, and the governor was shouting, saying, look, of course he's limited. He is the #1 security officer, but he cannot deploy any troops. So I felt we should have done everything to ensure that they were dislodged. We had to wait. We have to lose 20 soldiers, 9 policemen. And in fact, people are saying that the casualties may be more than that because civilians were killed. And I think 4 Chinese nationals were also kidnapped. So if they get away with this, we are going to cause more damage sooner than we expect.
All right, Balaji, Adewale talked about proactive measure. Do we ever take proactive measures in Nigeria? And this is obviously a direct assault on Nigeria and our security forces, which is actually looking like an indirect war on our military.
My dear sister, let me tell you something. We have always had direct assault on Nigeria ever since these people have been attacking us. See, let's look at how this happened. This government stormed the firm, mining firm. We had some policemen, 7 mobile policemen, guiding the place. They killed these policemen. Then soldiers that were very close to that area came to see whether they could do a rescue operation. There was an exchange of gunfire.
They were ambushed.
Yes, 20 of them died. You see, the problem, the issue now is what happened. You see, the soldiers work in an ambush or what? Is it that the soldiers are not well prepared in terms of having enough ammunition to confront these people? Or 20 of them to have been killed? We do not know the number of bandits or the attackers that were killed too. Nobody could tell us that. But you see, it is very important for us to be able to know some of these things, so that we are able to compare whether there's any need, because that will give us an idea of whether our soldiers are really performing or not. Because I can't imagine soldiers coming on a rescue operation in a place that's been attacked and getting 20 of them killed. So what happened to the other people that attacked them? Are you saying they overwhelmed our soldiers? See, these are things that should bother our minds. That look, do we need to reconfigure our security architecture, or are we proactive about some of the activities of our soldiers or whatever they do? Because it is unimaginable for 20 soldiers to be killed. What happened to the people the soldiers attacked? Or how many did they kill? Did they kill about 100? If 20 soldiers died, and they told me, the information is that they killed about 100 bandits or attackers, I'd be okay. Those are things that would likely happen in that kind of scenario. But what happened? They killed 20 soldiers. What happened to the Buddha? You know, and it tells us something about the preparedness of our soldiers, of the army. If you allow 20 of your people to be killed going for an operation, you know, it tells you a lot of things about those who are commanding these soldiers, our troops, and even the entire security configuration of this country. It's very important that we know some of these things. It gives an idea of how to compare. Like, look, the soldiers did their best, and they did a lot, but unfortunately, this is what happened. They lost 20 people after they had killed about 100 people or 200, you know, that kind of thing, because they are supposed to be well trained. That's what I look at.
All right, gentlemen, right now we are being joined by Babajide Kolade Otitoju. BKO, I would like to quickly have your reservation about this particular discussion.
Yes, it's extremely painful that we lost so many of our servicemen in just one phase of battle with bandits in the Shiroro area of Niger State. Bandits are running rampant in Niger State, in several local governments, not less than 9 to 10 local governments. In fact, they've come even to Bogu local government now, which is the largest local government in our country. Bogu local government, at more than 10,000 square kilometers, is bigger than some states. And because of this, they have many places where they can hide. And the whole national park is also located in that local government. So these bandits have enough foliage, they have enough places where they can hide, and they have enough places. They spread in their tentacles to several parts of the state, right up to the border with Kebbi State. That is talking about the Yauri area. They've been in Shiroro for so long, and the bandits operating in the Shiroro area are believed to be remnants of Boko Haram. People used to be part of the Boko Haram terrorist group. They've killed soldiers many times. They've set ablaze military bases in the same area. So we know that we are dealing with bandits or terrorists who are well armed, who are well prepared, who have some level of training in terms of weapons handling.
Absolutely.
So we naturally shouldn't have allowed what happened to happen. To lose, from my reckoning, at least 30 soldiers, because some of them were said to have been picked up in the bush. To lose 30 soldiers in one battle is extremely in this part of the country. We are talking about the northeast, yes. But in the north central of our country, to lose up to 30 soldiers is unheard of. It shows that we really have to get more serious with these guys. Allowing them the freedom to operate is our undoing.
All right, Bikio, let me stay on that last statement. Ex-generals are saying this is unheard of anywhere in the world, losing security personnel almost every day. And yet we say we do not have enough. Is this about number or better equipment now?
Both. And of course, the strategy has to be right.
Okay.
When bandits are operating in an area, we have to be careful, even when we are going for a kind of rescue mission or to beef up security on ground. We need air cover, because usually the bandits position themselves along the routes that they know that the soldiers will come through. And the soldiers, as they are coming in, they get killed in an ambush. This same thing happened when we were trying to rescue the train passengers in Kaduna. The soldiers who tried to arrive on the scene quickly were gunned down because they knew that there will be reinforcements. So they usually position their snipers along the major routes leading to the location. So we've lost so many soldiers to ambushes, and sometimes I wonder what's going on. If we had air cover, if we sent air reconnaissance team they will have known the position of the bandits, and they will have called for ground attack helicopters to destroy them right there at location before the surface troops come in to soften up the whole area and then rescue people. But to just go straight to that place is like going to war blindfolded, because definitely those guys will have been prepared for some form of reinforcement coming from the Nigerian army. And this is why we lost so many men. If it was pitched battle, our soldiers facing them in a pitched battle, we cannot lose that number of troops. But in an ambush, you are guaranteed to lose troops, because the enemy had all along been preparing for you to arrive on the scene, and they will have hidden themselves in the vegetation and to just open fire. So this is what has happened. Niger State is bursting at the scene with bandits, with terrorists, and we need to do something about that. A good number of the local governments are being controlled by terrorists. The governor has complained that the Niger State is too close to the seat of power for us to allow this to be happening. But all his complaints are falling on deaf ears. We have not seen concrete actions taken to exterminate the bandits operating in this area and causing so much bloodshed to our people. Our people can no longer go to their farms. And that's why cost of food items have gone up, because if you cannot even harvest what you have planted, how do you then sell them to the markets? Well, it's a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing, and I just sympathize with the army that they are having to lose their men to this kind of elevated banditry.
All right, thank you, Vicky. I would definitely get back to you. But then, Adewale, we have lost over 700 soldiers in the last 18 months. This is alarming.
It's a very unfortunate thing. And this is unconventional, not engaged in conventional warfare. So we are losing these soldiers to our own people. They are being killed by Nigerians, the people that are supposed to protect. I think losing more than 20 soldiers, even 10 soldiers, even one soldier, is the whole body, not to talk about losing about 20. I think Gide raised a lot of, Baba Gide raised a lot of questions. Also, the way Bolagi spoke, that when those 7 policemen were killed, there was supposed to be signal. This is what has happened. And that signal should be able to tell the reinforced soldiers coming how many of these Boko Haram were involved in this operation, so that the soldiers that are coming on rescue operation will know how they are going to prepare themselves. And while coming to attack, they should have sent a surveillance, what they call Reiki. They will go ahead and look at how safe, so that if there are mines, if there are ambushes, you can do it through the air or on the ground. You will know and then pass on the information to the soldiers that, look, these guys are about 50. They have AK-47. You can, if you want to come and attack them, these are the kind of weapons you need to use. That didn't happen. So I see a clear case of failure of intelligence. If there was a well-coordinated intelligence, they would have attacked them in a different form. Like I said, either using a helicopter, but we waited until, if that is, I saw some clips. If that's the clip people are sending around, it's gory, it's so pathetic. And I hope that we'll take, because in Nigeria, they will kill 20 soldiers. People will talk. The next thing is that we hear they have killed 30 soldiers, because we are not taking measures to ensure that it does not repeat itself again. So I hope this time around we will learn from what has happened. And also ensure that we honor these soldiers. People die, what kind of honor do we give to them when they lose their lives? To encourage other people to know that they did not die in vain.
All right, gentlemen, let's quickly go to Kaduna State, where farmers in Beningwari are reported to have paid more than 400 million naira as taxes to bandits before they can farm or harvest crops. What is the implication of this?
You see, it's just the same thing that Jide said today, that because of the situation, farmers plant and they have not been able to go to the farm to harvest. But that is the means of livelihood. They have to harvest, they have to sell so that they will have some money too. And they have to feed some communities with whatever they have on their farm. Now, you have planted and you don't have access to your farm to harvest what you have. It's going to be a problem. It's either the things get rotting on the farm or it gets spoiled and, no access. And then the implication is that there will be skyrocketing prices of food items, which is likely to be the case. And for that not to happen, had to pay these people. But you see, it's still the same thing we kept saying. You see, there's the security architecture in this country. I don't understand whether it's the deliberate thing to allow this kind of thing to continue, like people have always said. Because when you are fighting this battle, you know it's not the conventional warfare that you pitch battle or whatever. There are certain systems you adopt in that kind of situation. You know, there's what we used to call the heart and mind strategy. You know, they call it heart and mind strategy. It's something that had been adopted over the years by this America. They did it during the Vietnam War and so on. You know, the idea is that the people in that society, you let them see you as their savior. Because you cannot fight a war without intelligence. Absolutely. And they are the people that are likely to give you intelligence. Because these people you are fighting, they don't wear uniform. Immediately they finish fight, they direct the havoc, they just put the guns somewhere and they walk into the community. And they be part of the community. If you be passing beside them, you will know they are the people that are going to attack a few minutes ago. Right. But you have this heart and mind strategy that look, people that in that community know that you are part of it. I mean, the soldiers, they will give you information that look, that man that is going there because they live in the society, they live among the people. And they look at. There's also this thing. Why have we not been able to deploy technology to fight these things? Drones are there. You are going to help rescue some people, and you just send your soldiers there. You just went there blindly. What do you expect? They will kill people like that. Send drones. Let them see what's happening there. Even the satellite imagery will give you an idea of people that are in a particular situation. How many people, because of its signature from their body, it will tell you maybe there are 20 people, 30 people. It will give you an idea, and then you are able to prepare.
All right. Let me quickly get BK's reaction on this. Reports say this has been on since 2019. You either abandon your farm or you pay huge taxes, yet the economy is bleeding. BK, what respite do we have?
I don't know if you have any respite. All that we can do is determine what do we want to do about our security situation. Do we intend to negotiate with the criminals? If we do not intend to negotiate with the criminals, then we have only one choice, which is to exterminate them, make life unbearable for them, make it difficult for them to operate within the borders of Nigeria. If we fail to do that, they will continue to expand their tentacles, to stretch their tentacles, even to places where in the past we thought they could not go to. Look at what happened to the deputy governor of Sokoto State. They came into his farm and rustled his cattle. And his farm is not even far from the Sokoto airport, which means that if these guys want to do it, they can come into Sokoto town instead, because the airport is not far from the town. So if they can get that close, then it means that the Sokoto metropolis itself is not safe. And what continues to give these guys the feeling that they can do what they like is the kind of weapons at their disposal. I hear some governors say that the people should defend themselves. Of course, this is foolish. How do you tell people to defend themselves against people who are carrying rocket-propelled grenades, people who are carrying general-purpose machine guns, people who are using AA, anti-aircraft guns? Who can stand before an anti-aircraft gun, something that is meant to bring down airplanes? These terrorists and bandits have it in abundance, and they use it against troops and civilians. So it makes them almost undefeatable for any group of civilians. And that's why we've been recording so many deaths of vigilantes, of security volunteers and all that in Kebbi State and other parts of the Northwest, where the people have tried to even stand up to these bandits. It is the Nigerian armed forces that has to rise to the occasion. They have to be provided with the weaponry that is needed to defeat the enemy. We do not have any choice. If we do not move fast and defeat this enemy, they will continue to spread to other parts of the country, and we may have a Somalia on our hands. God forbid.
BKO, please. All right, BQ, I'll get more reactions from you, but then let's take Ade from Ogun State. Ade, welcome to the program.
Hello, good afternoon. Well done.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, please, I've told Gide severally. You see, when it boils down to the issue of security, there's a lot of corruption from the leaders, both in the executive arm of government and that of the military hierarchy. You see, funds that are meant for the military, most of these funds are changed in terms of inflation of the budget. And when the little that gets to the military hierarchy, there are a lot of corruption. I can tell you there are some of what we call Shagari weapons. I think military, and these are weapons that the military hierarchy sometimes have told this secretary that these weapons have been right out. They purchase new one. When they tell you they are buying 1,000 pieces, they are only buying 5,000. They are only buying 200 pieces, 100 pieces. Welfare of soldiers are not being taken care of. And I can tell you, the soldiers are even hungry. Because
all right, thank you very much, Ade. Thank you. BKO, please in a minute, kindly wrap up with your comment. BKO, are you there?
Yeah, I didn't hear you clearly.
Please wrap up with your comments. Please go ahead.
Yes, I'm saying that we have to decide what we want to do with these people, because they are spreading their tentacles across our country, and if we do not stop that spread, the more they succeed, the bolder they become, and the more determined they will be to spread to other places where their negative impacts are not being felt. So the armed forces have to rise to the occasion and defeat the threat that these guys constitute. That is the option that we have, because we can't be negotiating with them, for example. We can't.
All right, BKO, quickly.
Yes.
All right, quickly. In April, Governor El-Rufai and some of the governors threatened to hire foreign mercenaries. Now, if the Goodluck Jonathan administration did this, and people say there was a bit of impact, what is stopping the federal government?
You know, when the president came in, he clearly underrated Boko Haram.
Okay.
He could not understand why, for example, Nigeria brought in Chadian troops to come and help us on Nigerian soil. Because this was a president who has a GOC, 3rd Division, invaded some parts of Chad. He chased their troops right into their territory, and it took the President Shagari to appeal to him to withdraw his troops. So the president clearly did not realize that a lot had changed. The military was not as strong as it used to be, and we've had years of civilian rule. So he could not believe that we even brought Chadian troops to come and fight on our soil. And he used the words, "How are the mighty falling?" So the president didn't continue that contract, because this they don't like in modern warfare. They call them private military contractors. They don't like calling them mercenaries anymore. They are called PMC. In fact, in Iraq, more PMCs died than US troops. So America uses them a lot. But our president said he was not going to continue with those mercenaries, and the contract was not renewed. And Chadian troops were also, they were not allowed to remain in our country. Now, those governors who are saying that they needed these guys, it's because they realized that they made so much impact at that time. They brought equipment, radars, through which they can locate the position of the enemy and then take decisive action. And they helped us to reclaim all the local governments that were in the hands of Boko Haram before the 2015 election. all those local governments captured by Boko Haram in Borno State were recaptured before the 2015 election. I say that again because many people believe that it was when this regime came that some of those places were recaptured. That is a lie from the pit of hell. They were recaptured, before the election. In Adamawa State, 7 local governments were being held by Boko Haram. They were all recaptured before the election. In Yobe State, 2 local governments were being held by Boko Haram. They were recaptured before the 2015 election, thanks to the hard work of General Adeosun at that time, who later became number 2 to General Burate, and of course, the private military contractors, otherwise known as mercenaries. Those governors know that these guys will do a good job. That's why they're asking for them. But of course, the decision to allow them come into our country can only be taken by the president. And as far as the president is concerned, it is unnecessary. He believes that our troops can get the job done. So, and to convince the president, in my view, is impossible. He's not going to listen. So maybe when he's out of office, a new administration can consider that and look at the record of work of those guys and bring them back. But I believe that President Buhari will never allow those private military contractors, or otherwise known as mercenaries, to come to Nigeria to fight.
All right, thank you very much, BKO. Now let's quickly go on a break. We'll be back with more discussions.
Every major news story is with many perspectives and layered with different levels of impact.
Hello. What time did this happen? We will be right there.
At TVC News, we follow the big and major news, gathering the facts, witnessing the outcome.
I am here live at the aftermath of the approval of the new national minimum wage.
We are TV station of the year, not just for breaking news, but for being first, fair and accurate. TVC News, first with breaking news.
All right, welcome back. The ongoing strike by members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, is 4 months old, and all parties concerned are on edge. An urgent solution is required before the situation on campuses degenerates. In this regard, the Committee of Vice Chancellors of Nigerian Universities has appealed to President Muhammadu Buhari to take charge and hasten the process of resolving the ongoing industrial disputes by ASUU and other unions in tertiary institutions in the country. At a function in Abuja, the Vice Chancellor said they are concerned about the impact of the strike on both students and institutions. Here's some updates on ASUU strike as filled in by TVC News senior correspondent Sharon Nyesom.
This was the last public appearance of the Minister for Education, Adamu, where he tried to intervene on the lingering ASUU strike before he stormed out of the meeting with students. Members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, resumed nationwide strike on the 14th of February 2022. The strike is to protest against the continued use of the Integrated Payroll and Personnel Information System, IPIS, for lecturers and refusal of the federal government to implement the 2009 renegotiated agreement that was completed in May 2021. More than 4 months after, the striking lecturers are yet to return to work. Classrooms remain shut and covered in dust as lonely walk paths symbolized the situation in public universities across the country. I met with students who looked obviously upset with the situation of things. While some refused to speak on camera, others believe that now is the time for them to resume lecture.
Knowing that all their children are abroad, I don't blame them for not caring. So whenever they are ready, they can release us.
My perspective of life has changed to an extent. I've been pursuing other things, and I can say my goals, like my goals before, are not my goals now.
The striking lecturers' demand include failure of the federal government to implement the 2009 renegotiated agreement with ASUU, refusal of federal government to adopt the University Transparency and Accountability Solution (UTAS), the need for increased funding of state universities, and the non-payment of withheld salaries, check-off dues, and promotion arrears. Though the ASUU strike was a product of failure of successive governments to honor agreements, educationists are concerned about contribution of the Ministry of Education to efforts aimed at resolving the issues raised by the union.
Where is our Minister of Education in Nigeria? It's a sad reality. He is unavailable. He is not speaking. He is talking to no one. ASUU has been on strike.
Even if the president will compensate his friend, Adamu, with something, it shouldn't be education.
No responsible government will feel so relaxed and so indifferent about the plight of millions of students who have been at home in the last 4 months. Much more fundamentally, while these young people are idling away at home, the government and its paraphernalia are busy talking about the next election.
It's almost 5 months that students have been prevented from receiving lectures in the classrooms due to the Academic Staff Union of Universities strike. Many educationists believe that for solutions to happen and for pledges which have been made to be fulfilled by federal government, there might be a need for a special legislative budgetary allocation to be made to ensure that the lecturers get what their demands are.
Gentlemen, the Vice Chancellors are demanding, or rather asking, for a direct involvement of President Buhari in this matter. How achievable is this?
I think what the ASUU said, their demand is a legitimate demand. I commend them for that position. Because this strike we are talking about is affecting the most important industry in Nigeria. That is the knowledge industry, where the future of this country is hatched. In terms of the human resources, in terms of industry, in terms of creativity, in terms of art, science, So for this, thing to go on and on and on, apart from affecting the personal career of the students, it will dislocate the family economy because you can't plan, And also, of course, it's going to affect the future of the country in the long run. Can I assure you many of these students will have been forced to relocate from the country. A lot of university lecturers, some in the best in their field, will have relocated to Togo, to Ghana, even to Lebanon.
Benin Republic.
Yeah, Benin Republic, South Africa, US. And that's why you see that most of our best brains, they hardly stay in this country. Even students who make first class, in fact, they will call, they will give them automatic scholarship abroad. So we produce the best. We are becoming the dumping ground for the worst. So I think I commend what the demand of the VCs. And I think we would like to see the president to speak, if just for once, on this ASUU strike, on this ASUU issue. It's a very important issue. I assume the president is also concerned.
And I even assume that they are asking for a sit-down with the president.
Yes. It gives them a moral, even if it does not translate to immediate gain, but it gives them some sense of hope that, look, the president of this country is concerned, is sitting down with us. They want to hear, what he needs to say. So I think I'm really, I feel embarrassed that the president has not, found it necessary to invite them. Even though you are divided, you see when somebody wins the election because the governor, the next is he goes to see the president. Somebody will want to swear in the minister, he sees the president. So I think it is time for the president to sit down with ASUU. I think we are looking forward to that, and I hope something good will come out of it.
All right, Bolaji, we heard one of the students saying, my goals before are no longer my goals. And I know ASUU had done 6 months before, but this is looking like one of the longest, or actually the longest university strike in the country.
One of the longest. We've had more than 6 months of during the military days. We've had something longer, but unfortunately, we are not supposed to be experiencing this. And the question that really comes to mind is this. Are people that are supposed to be concerned, the Minister of Education, the National Assembly, the presidency, are they not concerned Are they comfortable with the fact that the universities are locked up, are closed? So if they are concerned, why have they kept quiet since? People will say that it's because some of them don't have the children here. But the fact is that you are presiding over the affairs of this country. You know, you are representative of the people. And so why is it that you are not taking any action to ensure that the people, the children of these people that you are presiding over are in the universities? Because the Bible has said it. An idle hand is the devil's workshop. That's when you see all these boys engaging in different activities because they are not doing anything. I'm concerned, and I hope that the president is going to heed the appeal of the vice chancellors. But I'm concerned that even the minister is not even saying anything. And even ASUU on the own part, I was reading something about what the Labour minister said in Wike, that look, why is it that every time it's strike? The first thing they do is just go on strike. I have to give you a warning strike. That strike should be the last resort. They could do picketing, this and that. But so all these things we have to take.
Well, it looks like that's the only language. Because for them, they say that's the only language our leaders understand.
Yeah, but what has that got us now? This is about 5 months that they have been out there, you know, out of school.
All right, let me come to BKO. Many have argued that the problem is not about inadequate resources, but wrong prioritization. BKO, what's your take about this?
Yes, but we also have to be mindful of the fact that when we were younger, the universities were better managed, the universities were better funded. One of the first things that politicians, when they get to the Senate and House of Reps, think of doing is to ensure the setting up of a federal university in their constituency. They believe that this is part of giving back to their constituency. This is part of the democracy dividends. But the resources are shrinking and universities are suffering from lack of sufficient funding. Universities like the University of Lagos, Nsukka, and some of the first generation universities with rich alumni, they are getting by. A lot of the infrastructure in place in UNILAG was thanks to the hard work of the alumni association. They have some very big ex-students and who have so much money, and they are helping out with structures on the campus. And so the university has some funding that smaller universities don't have. So even if we admit to an extent that we have never prioritized education, the UNESCO ceiling or the UNESCO percentage of funding from the budget that should go to education as prescribed by the UNESCO, we have never met it. We did a little bit, we did well under the Jonathan era, but since Jonathan left, our funding of education has continued to recede. So I believe that, yes, we are not even funding education enough, but the more federal universities we have, the greater the burden of funding them. I saw a federal university the other day. There is no third road in any part of the campus. The university does not enjoy public electricity supply. Once it is 5:30, the school officially closes. Everybody goes home. There's no perimeter fencing around the university premises, which means that the students are even liable to be kidnapped by bandits. So funding will definitely not be sufficient when we are proliferating universities. We are building so many universities, probably more than we even need at this time. But I also want to believe that at this stage, Nigerians need to pay more for education, especially public education. I'm not saying that it cannot be subsidized, but at least Nigerians need to pay more. Otherwise, we will continue to have the problems that we have. But ASUU's problems are not just about money. ASUU is asking for IPPIS to be put aside and for UTAS to be brought back, I mean, to be used instead of IPPIS, because the IPPIS is not flexible for the university community. But as far as they are concerned, the UTAS is more flexible for the university environment, because for IPPIS is you can only draw salary, you can only get paid in only one place. But university lecturers like to do sabbatical in other universities, and they will expect to be paid during that period. IPPIS does not allow for this kind of thing. And all over the world, scholarly work is done even outside your own. A lot of scholarly work is done outside your own university premises. You go abroad to be resident, to be visiting lecturer, and then you earn money, you do a lot more publishing and all that in a period. They are saying the IPPIS does not allow for that kind of flexibility. The IPPIS recognizes even the age of retirement at 60, whereas the university lecturers by law can remain at work up to 65 years, not what's obtained in the Federal Civil Service. So there is that flexibility that is the problem. And they are saying, let us have UTAS. But the Minister of Education has said that only the president can take a decision on whether to accept UTAS or not. ASUU is asking for just two things this time around. Stop rolling us for IPPIS, let us have UTAS, and let's have the renegotiation of the 2009 agreement. So because the minister said only the president can take the decision on UTAS, that was why those VC said the president should come in at this point. Because left for the minister,
I'll be back to you. Okay, BKO, I'll be back to you, but then let's have Uche from Abeokuta.
Yeah, good evening. Yeah, this is Uche calling from Abeokuta in Ogun State.
All right, thank you, Uche. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I think just like Babajida just said, the ASUU, this time around, many times they are always blackmailed, and this time around they refuse to be blackmailed by this government. Now, how can you enroll somebody in IPPS? Now, this IPPS in question now is questionable, because this same IPPS that the federal government said that is good. Now, this same IPPS is the same IPPS that is sitting, and the accountant general was able to sum of 80 billion. And
all right, thank you very much, Uche. Now, Adewale, let me come to you. BK already talked about funding. Yeah. And according to United Nations, there is a recommendation that 26% of the national budget should be invested in education. And BK has said now, Nigerians need to pay more. Whether subsidy or not, Nigerians still need to pay more. Is that a way out of all of this quagmire?
Yes. Nigerians, let me just put it broadly, Nigerians need to make sacrifices. But also, our leaders need to make more sacrifices. I think that is where we need to strike a balance. Nigerians want to see Nigerians want to see those elected more accountable, to live a Spartan life. Not when we make sacrifices. At the end of the day, we see our leaders riding in the biggest cars, traveling abroad for holidays. And
Adwale, Nigerians will say making sacrifices is not the problem. Yeah. But we need to see the impact of the sacrifices we're making.
We need to see the impact, not in the form of the number of houses our leaders are building, but in terms of infrastructure, electricity. We have not been able to solve electricity problem in the past 23 years. I'm even counting from 1999. So what is the excuse? In fact, today is worse. Most places, the whole day, no light, or sometimes 3 days, 3 hours in a day. So in what area is government really relevant? Is it security? Are you talking of roads? Are you talking of water? And whereas the people that are elected, they get all these things free. You know, if you have a government, the first thing the government does is to buy new cars costing about 20 million for House of Assembly, for senators. They have money for constituency allowance for senators, House of Rep, but they cannot meet basic needs of the people. So when we are calling on people to make sacrifices, it should also be backed up with the fact that we want to see accountability on the part of those that have been elected to lead us.
All right, Balaji, let me come to you now. Is it ineptitude of past leaders that some of the most critical sectors in our country suffer the most, and especially when it comes to basic welfare packages?
Well, it's about attitude. It's about the way you look at those things that are supposed to be under your purview. You know, when you look at what Jide was saying and what you said there, 26% allocated budgetary allocation for education, 6% GDP education. Nigeria has never made that. Nigeria only does 6% of the budget for education, which is quite unfortunate. See, and also there's something that we need to understand. There's this disconnect between the town and the gown, you know, the universities and the society. The society is there and the universities is there, but you see there should be a synergy. There should be a kind of, you know, the universities is where ideas are given birth to. And if you are saying this is where ideas are given birth to, where we are training people, where we have lecturers, that they are supposed to be able to give ideas to the society. That look, once the ideas are here, using in the society, they have there's something they come up with, maybe a design, patent it, give it to society, and like. But you see, we hardly ever feel this impact. I feel that the problem is everybody's problem. It's not only the government's problem. Even our university people, the problem is theirs too. Because I can't imagine a vice chancellor just sitting down there all the time and waiting for allocation from the federal government all the time to run his university. And you see, I remember some years back in Unilag, the vice chancellor there, I think it was Omotola, he started something. Students could engage in some little bit of work and all those things that make money, generate money for the university and all those things. That's creativity. Most of our universities are not doing that. Most of our businesses are not doing that. They are only waiting for the federal government. But you see, like I took up one of the lecturers in UI at the time over this. He said there's a restriction to what the university can also bring, or anybody can bring to the university, or the vice chancellor can also take. I don't know. I've not seen the law, But if there is this restriction that is impeding the fact that they cannot go to the society to source of funds, to source of money to run the university, then the government should look into this again. It's rather unfortunate. We need someone that will understand that education is very crucial. It's very important for this country to be where it should be. If you don't have a leadership that believes that education is the ultimate, then we are going to be having this kind of problem. You know, they're outside there for about 4 or 5 months now. Okay. Nobody's doing anything about it. It's because they don't feel it's a major issue. But it is a major issue because these are young people. It's about their future. And from the statistics, Nigeria is a youth society, sort of. Absolutely. We have from age 18, we have about nearly 80% of Nigerian population that's within that age range. That's why it's called youth society or youth populated society. And there's a need to do something about it. Very, very important.
All right, Adewale.
Yeah, Bolaji is a very important issue. The disconnect between the universities and the corporate world. In other countries, you see that big companies, they fund the research in the universities. And when they do a design, they produce it and commercialize it, and then the university gets a commission on that.
Okay, so what could be responsible for this lack of synergy?
What we are seeing is gradual failure of leadership, that this is no longer happening. If you go to the engineering department at the University of Nigeria and Soka that I know, they design a lot of things, mosquito repeller, even telephone, in those days, But to now, to commercialize it, you need corporate organizations that be able to fund, and then the universities will get something in return. That's what is going on all over. And it's a knowledge economy that is in billions of dollars. So the universities need to reach out to the corporate world. The corporate world should also be more responsible, not just funding professorial shares, but also to invest in research. If you are talking about COVID-19 vaccine and all that, these are the areas we expect the universities to be more, if you can produce the vaccine, the university will make millions of dollars from it. Yeah. So it's like I said, it's not just about government. We need a complete overhaul of the university system, a university that is completely dependent and it's not it's less active when you're talking about productive services.
All right, BKO. Okay, please go ahead before I go.
Okay, you see, there's another thing. When you look at our politicians, they say they are doing empowerment. You see them bringing motorcycles, giving people motorcycles. Is that what they're supposed to be doing? The other day, I wanted to contest, and I said, what could I make a difference? I saw, there was an advert I saw by this Chinese company. They had these planters. You know, there's only one person that can operate it. The guy will enter to operate it and start making ridges. He has the same machine will plant things for you. There's another machine that will, why can't our politicians go into this kind of thing? Instead of giving motorcycles to people and endangering their lives, because when you go to these motorcycles are just all over the place. But there are people, there are farmers there, they are still going there, burning there with this traditional method of farming, that you could go and empower with all these things. They are not doing all these things. You see, so these are the problems. And it's the same thing that has affected the education system in this country. They are not doing the right thing. If they are doing the right thing, we shouldn't have our children, we shouldn't have the students be out at this time for 4 or 5 months, and nobody's caring about that. It's very unfortunate.
All right, BKO, I would like to, I don't want to speak about synergy between ASUU, Nigerian universities, and corporate bodies, especially when it comes to funding. I'd like to have your reactions, your take on that.
Yes, a good number of the universities have benefited tremendously from the corporate Nigeria. But in the season of proliferation of universities, you find that a good number of them can't even do business with the outside world. In some remote local governments in northern Nigeria, for example, federal universities have been set up. What kind of money can they generate at that level? That's why some of the demands of ASUU have to do with proliferation of state and federal universities. They are saying that it has to stop. And it's one of the reasons we can't find sufficient funding for the universities that we have today. I can tell you that next year, we will hear about some federal universities that they are going to set up again. You've not been able to fund the federal universities that you have, yet you are thinking of setting up new ones. Where are you going to find the money? And some of them, where they are located, you cannot even, they can't do the kind of business that Lagos University, for example, can do. They don't have the big alumni that can endow chairs, professorial chairs that they can make money off them. So there are all kinds of problems. Look at Abia State, for example. They were owing, the state government was owing their doctors, the doctors and their state university. They were owing them more than 5 months' salary. It was one of the concerns of ASUU. So if you have so many universities and you can't even pay medical doctors working in the teaching hospitals of some of those universities, what then? Why are you setting up those universities? Let us equip the ones that we have sufficiently. Let us fund them properly, because you have to position them to be centers of research and to be centers of excellence. Some of the universities that I've seen, I'm sorry to say, some of the federal universities, they can never be centers of research or centers of excellence. There's nothing in some of those universities. A few of the buildings that they have thanks to TED funds. And they are not even enough. So it should not be quantity that should bother us, but quality. But the way it is, our politicians are just interested in setting up universities all over the place. It's one of the key demands that ASUU has made. People will condemn ASUU for going on strike, but they don't want to condemn government for refusing to honor its agreement. Before, in December 2020, there was a memorandum of action that was signed between ASUU and the government. All of those things that the government promised to do in that memorandum of action, they refused to do it. And after that, ASUU then came up with a warning strike to draw attention to the fact that, look, you have refused to do the things that you promised to do. In spite of that, we are still here. So the president has to do the needful. If he would today say, okay, we disenroll the university system from IPPIS, I'm sure this strike will come to an end. And the conversations about renegotiation of their wages can continue. How many of us will be happy to be on the same salary since 2009? But that's what these lecturers are going through. Their salaries have not been renegotiated since 2009. And we don't want them to complain. We want them to be happy to bring up children of other people, including children of millionaires and billionaires. It's just not right. There's no fairness in this whole thing. There's no fairness.
All right, thank you very much, BKO. Thank you, gentlemen. But would you hope that the president heeds to the call by this vice chancellor so that at least there's a headway in all of this issue? Yeah. All right, let's move to the final lap of the program. There is no doubting the fact that economic hardship is hovering over Nigeria. But what is more worrisome is that the future is gloomy. A Fitch Ratings report says the rising inflation is hampering the country's economic growth and eroding consumer purchasing power. And according to the ratings agency, skyrocketing inflation remains the drawback in the country's efforts to achieve relative growth. Gentlemen, Fitch Ratings, inflation is hampering Nigeria's growth. How will this affect government's efforts to revive the economy?
Well, in the first place, I think this rating is not just an ordinary rating. About 3 major institutions like that all over the world, and which is one of them since around 1970s. So people need to take them serious. It's a very serious organization. What they projecting about 17.7% inflation. It's what everybody can feel, every home. You don't need to be told. I think it's a signal, in spite of the slight increase in oil prices globally, that Nigerians are paying through their noses to meet, their purchasing power has diminished, in the past few months. So, but unfortunately, I personally don't see how we can be lucky with a spontaneous turnaround. I think we need to be prepared, at least between now and next year, for a very tough time. I don't see the signal. We're in the year of election, where billions of funds will go into electoral process. We are in a season where billions of naira will go into the corruption industry because we're in election season. So there's going to be a lot of mop-up. Look at when we are talking about people who have access to dollars. We'll see what happened during the primaries and all sort of things. So whereas manufacturers that cannot access dollars, people have mopped up the dollars because they are going into policy. So I think the next months, we are just hoping that the next government, will be a government that can bring turnaround, maybe in the next 12 months after coming to power.
All right, Bolaji, inflation continues to skyrocket, but wages remain stagnant.
Yeah.
So are we saying, or do we look at if salary increase is the answer?
You see, it's not the answer.
Okay.
Salary increase is not the answer, because you have to look at what causes inflation in the first place. The basic economic theory that we were taught is that inflation, the basic primary thing is that when there's too much money in circulation and you have few goods, you are going to have inflation. Because those who are selling those goods will want to get more money for the little good that's available. So you see, if you now increase, and you look at if you increase the salary of workers to tackle this problem, you are still pumping more money into the society. You are not supposed to do that to reduce inflation. What basically will help inflation is production. You must have the capacity to meet the demands, aggregate demands of your people. If you don't have that capacity, that people are demanding for let's just the simplistic thing, yam in the market. You have 10 tubers of yam, and we have about 20 people demanding for yam. There's going to be inflation because the person that is selling the yam will want to increase the cost of his yam so I could make more money. And there's a lot of money in the hands of people. So people pay it. And that's why you start talking about inflation. So basically, if you have a situation whereby people are being given salary and and you now say you want to increase that salary, you are still putting money into the society, into circulation. And the job of the CBN is to withdraw this money so that you reduce inflation. Because if you have less money, or you reduce the interest rates for borrowing, there's a tendency for people to borrow less. And when they borrow less, you don't have too much money in circulation. Okay. And based on that, you reduce inflation. So these are the things that, when you look at some of these things, you start asking questions. Why is it that all these little... I'm not an economist. I'm not an economist. I'm just a journalist that studies what's happening in the society. But these are there are people that are experts in this area. Why is it that they don't see some of these things that we are seeing? They know some of these things. Why is government not seeing? Are they not giving advice to the right people? Because if you are saying inflation is rising, the basic thing causing inflation is that there is a lot of demand for the little things that are available. So why not tackle this problem?
All right, Mikhail, let me come to you. Bolaji says salary increase is not the answer. Well, I'm sure workers wouldn't agree with him.
Yes, I also disagree. The minimum wage has already been eroded by rampant inflation. We've not been able to keep inflation at single digits for a very long time. And inflation keeps rising. I even want to believe that the figures that we see, the official figures being bandied about by the NBS, are too modest. You need to go around our cities, our towns, to see that people are going through a lot. People, like, the best of them all is food. Because you have to eat to even find the energy to work. But our people, a situation in which a tuber of yam is being sold for as high as 4,000 naira. Many people have simply stopped eating yam. For the first time in my life, I've seen yam being sliced into several portions because people cannot afford to buy a single tuber of yam. You now see them slicing it into like 4 or 5 places so that you can pick what you can afford. It has never been this bad for our people. The local rice, which the Hausas call gumi, is extremely expensive, and the people can't live with the fact that something that they've been used to eating, that they've taken for granted, is now extremely expensive. Food is so expensive, worsened by rampant insecurity. People can access their farms, So there is a lot that needs to be done to keep the prices of food down in our country. And of course, with diesel selling at 850 naira per litre, something that was being sold at 225 naira per litre in February, now being sold at 850 naira per litre. It has worsened the inflation in our country. Everything, has gone up. Hotels, their fares, their rates have gone up because electricity is not constant. They have to put on the generator. They have to use diesel. Breads, those bread bakers, they were threatening the other day that they were going to go on strike because all of the major condiments that they use are imported, and the naira continues to fall against the dollar. So bread prices, especially premium bread, have gone up. Bread that I used to buy at 250 1.5 years ago is now 850. So it is that bad. The inflation is rising in our country, and food inflation is a lot worse. It's making life unbearable for the common man. Now, how can you stop people from stealing when you are not paying them the right wages? We want civil servants to stay incorruptible, but you are paying them what is just not enough for them to cater for their needs and the needs of their families. So a lot of them would rather steal. So if it is in our constitution that the minimum wage must be increased every 4 years, as long as you have not expunged that portion from the constitution, government is obligated to increase, increase the minimum wage. Again, in fact, it's due. Another one is due. So something that the Constitution prescribes, I cannot say I'm against it. Unfortunately, even many states cannot even pay the current one. So how do we begin to talk about them paying, increasing minimum wage again? So there's a lot that government needs to do for our people. Life in Nigeria is becoming extremely difficult. If people...
All right, Bikeo, we have had different policies by CBN, but then inflation continues to, continues day by day, and every year we have different figures coming out. Does it look like inflation is too big for the federal government to handle?
There are all kinds of problems leading to rising inflation. The currency, for example, we are a consumer nation. Our currency is doing badly against the Naira. Absolutely. Of course, that will lead to inflation because you expect businessmen, those into production, to make profits. They have to make profit. And how do they make profit? They have to add the cost of production to the burden that the buyer has to carry. So if it costs 800 Naira for the baker to produce bread, to bake bread, you don't expect that he will then sell it at the same 18 Naira or sell it for less. He wants to make money. So we have to find a way to keep the value of the Naira stable. The Naira has to be competitive. It has to be strong against other currencies. Look at the countries around us. Their currencies are stronger than us. Look at South Africa. Their currency has always been stable. It's always been stable. Their main, it is gold and diamond that the South Africans rely on, just as we rely on petrodollar. But the price of gold remains constant. It's not subject to the kind of volatility that we face in the global oil market. So they've been able to keep their currency stable. When you go to the UAE, the currency is stable. We can't keep our currency stable. So that alone, coupled with insecurity that is making it difficult for farmers to harvest their produce, therefore, we have to buy the little that is available, will naturally drive up prices. But either it's pharmaceuticals or anything that we are consuming that the raw materials are sourced from abroad will definitely go up in response to high prices in response to the poor value of the Naira and in response to rising diesel prices. So it's understandable that we are in the situation that we find ourselves. But I think that the CBN has to manage the currency better. It has to manage our Naira better.
All right, thank you, Bikeo. Quickly, Adewale, I asked Bikeo if inflation is too big for our federal government to handle. But now the rising inflation now will definitely affect purchasing power of Nigerians. And as it looks, we're at par with a country like Sudan.
Well, the only institution that can deal with inflation is the government. So, and I don't think any problem should be too big for a responsible government to tackle. So, and it's been said very clearly that the only way you can tackle inflation is to go into production. When people can no longer produce even farm products. Look at, we are talking about Shiroro and Kanji. Kanji is about 30 kilometers wide. Fishing activities in that area assist. In Chad Basin, fishing activities are the only people that are doing fishing there are bandits. So tomatoes, you want to go to farm to produce tomatoes, you are afraid of bandits. And it's not just in the north alone. I got calls from Ogun State here. People are facing the same problem. They have rice, cassava farm. At the end of the day, people, get those things destroyed. So, and even people are, in local communities, people are afraid to go to farms. So if there is no security, the agrarian sector will suffer. Then, crude oil, we produce it, we take it abroad, and then for more than 30-something years now, we cannot build a refinery. So we are dependent on everything, linking up abroad. So if we don't go into production, there's no way we can strengthen our... All
right, sad realities, I must say. But then, Bolaji, your final take on this before we go.
I want to agree with Wale on this. Production. And the production is not about produce or farming alone. It has to be every facet of our economy. Look at mining. Ilesha, we have gold there. South Africa is dependent on gold economy. We have gold in Ilesha. What are they doing about it? We have gold in Zamfara, I think. What's happening? You know. So where is the money coming from? We only depend on crude oil, and the price of crude oil is on the rise in the international market. And there's no way this is not going to affect us. So to tackle this problem of inflation, we must produce so that we have enough, so that there will be enough to be bought, so that people will not be chasing the little with the money that they have, you know, which is what leads to inflation.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. That's all we can take on the show today. Thank you, Bolaji Tunji, for coming on the show. Thank you, Adewale Odioye. And thank you, Wike, for joining us. You joined us from somewhere in Lagos. All right. Thank you. All right. That's all on Journalist Hangout on Sunday. Join us tomorrow for the regular episode of the program at 5 p.m. You can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode tonight at 11:30. We are on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.
Never miss a moment. Instant breaking news from all over the globe. Live streaming of your favorite programs delivered directly to you. Watch anytime from anywhere on your mobile or smart devices. Download the TVC News app today. Available on Google Play and Apple Store.
TVC News Adedoja Salamadini emerged winner of Lagos Reporting category at the 30th Diamond Award for Media Excellence. As the isolation centers filled up and many Nigerians living in denial, Adedoja dared the odds to